Enjoy. Whoa.
Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm obese former West Ham superstar Dimitri Diet. This is the first video on this channel, so welcome. Thank you for coming. We're going to be doing a 23-24 final Premier League table prediction because there's no better way to try and gain a audience than bad-mouthing everybody's football club. Let's go. So as much as I love Arsenal to finish bottom, it's going to be Luton Town. I think Nakamba's a very good signing. That's about where the positives end. They remind me of the Derby County squad from 7-8, where they finished with 11 points. I just think their rise has been a bit too quick, and they should be proud of it. But their squad's just not strong enough, and they'll do better than Derby. They just haven't got enough about them. Moving on to 19th. We've got AFC Bournemouth. Getting rid of Gary O'Neill was, I think, one of the worst decisions a football club has made in a long time. Losing Jefferson Lerma is going to be a big miss as well, especially to a rival around that stage of the table. I'm not a massive fan of some of the signings either. Justin Kluivert just stinks of Max Gradle. Kluivert is better, and he's obviously got his dad's name, but I don't think he's going to set the Premier League. Got second season syndrome as well to contend with. They'll probably still beat West Ham on the opening day of the season, but I think they're gone. The last relegation spot, I've got Wolverhampton Wanderers. Losing Ruben Neves is enormous, and they've not really tried to replace him. I thought last season, aside from Leeds, they were the only team that really got slapped about, battered 6-0 losses, which I think last game of the season to Arsenal was 6-0 or 5-0. They still don't really have a reliable striker, and now they've let Jimenez go. Not that he had the best last season or the season before, but it's not great. 17th for survival place, Sheffield United. I think they've done very well to keep Sander Berge. They haven't overhauled the squad, which seems to be a hallmark of teams that stay up. Obviously, a few years ago, Fulham did it, where they spent a lot of money, and it really cost them. Last time around, they didn't do all too much, and they ended up doing pretty well. I think Sheffield United will be in a relegation battle most of the season. I think they'll stay up. 16th, Crystal Palace. They've lost Zaha, and I don't think the effect that's going to have on the squad can be understated. Potentially losing Elise and Eze as well. I think signing Jefferson Lerma is smart. I think that's good. I think Hodgson's going to do enough to keep them up, but it's not going to be enjoyable, and it won't be comfortable either. 15th, Everton. I think it's about the same. Dyche will do the same as Hodgson. It won't be fun to watch, but they'll do just enough. They've signed Dan Zuma, but he doesn't fill me with confidence. I don't think he was very good at Tottenham last year. Calvert-Lewin is unreliable, and I don't think Neil Mope is good enough. They'll struggle to score goals. So I think they're going to be relying on their defence a bit. They've got that centre-back who used to play for Norwich. I think he's from York. I can't remember his name. 14th, Fulham. Marco Silva not leaving for Saudi Arabia is very good to see, and I think it's very good for Fulham. Mitrovic is obviously going to be a huge loss should he go. That's still a bit up in the air. I think getting Willian back for another year is very good, but at that age, another year older is going to be noticeable in his performance. I also think Palini's injury is a bit of a blessing in disguise. I think that will prevent him from leaving, and then when he gets back to full fitness, he'll have another great season. 13th, Burnley. Company has turned Burnley into such an enjoyable attacking side from what they once were. And I know it was in the Championship. How well they're going to do in the Prem playing like that, we'll see. I think James Trafford from City is a fantastic signing. He was very good at the Under-21 Euros. Playing like they do, they get battered by the big six and Arsenal, but I think they'll do well against the rest. And I'm saying comfortably mid-table this season at least. 12th, Brentford. Ivan Toney is going to be a huge miss. Kevin Schade does not inspire me. I watched Brentford a fair bit in pre-season, and it's not great. I think they'll struggle till Ivan Toney returns in January. They probably won't be in a relegation battle, but it won't be comfortably mid-table until then. They won't panic. They won't sack Frank. I think Mbeumo will step up and provide the goals. I'm also not really sure what's happening with the goalkeeper situation. Breyer's still at the club as of recording this. Flecken and Strakosha don't entirely fill me with confidence. We'll have to see. 11th, Nottingham Forest. They got very fortunate with all the spending they did last season. 15, 16 players it was they brought in. I think relegation would have done some long-term damage to the club with how many players would have jumped ship. But they stayed up, and this squad are really better off with each other, and I think they'll really push on. I really like Alanga as a signing, and he can't do any worse than Lingard. If Gibbs White keeps performing like he did at the end of last season, people will forget that they paid as much as 40 million for him. Tywater 1 year, if I pronounce that right, had a very good end to last season as well. I think he scored 10 goals, and I think he'll carry that into next season. They'll finish comfortably in the table. Number 10, we got West Ham. I'm stupidly optimistic. That's the life of a football fan. I think Paqueta and Bowen are fantastic players. Paqueta really came into his own in the last season. They'll have very good years. Skamaka, should he stay, which doesn't look likely, will break the Dixie Dean record of 60 goals, the one that Haaland couldn't. Obviously, the biggest problem we have is that Rice is gone, and we haven't looked to replace him. I think Moyes will go in January, and we'll bring in Graham Potter or someone and finish comfortably mid-table, probably bottle the Europa League again. Number 9, Brighton. I think Mahmoud Dahoud is a fantastic signing. I think James Milner is a very smart signing. I do think Europe will have a bit of a detriment on their league form, but the club is so well run that they've obviously got a contingency plan for that. I think João Pedro will do very well this season. Caicedo will still leave, but as I mentioned, they have a contingency plan for everything, so they'll be fine. Another good season for Brighton. Number 8, Aston Villa. You'd think that Europe would overwhelm them too, but if anybody knows how to handle that, it's Unai Emery. I don't quite know how they pulled off the Diaby signing, and I think he's going to have a ridiculous season. The transfer window is still open, but I don't think there's been enough talk about the importance of keeping Emi Martinez for another season. The man won the World Cup 6-7 months ago, and they've done very well to keep hold of him. Pau Torres, Yuri Tielemans, fantastic signings too. I also do think they will win the Conference League. Number 7, Newcastle. Similar problem to Luton, but the other end of the table. Their meteoric rise has just been a bit too fast for a team who were in a relegation battle under Steve Bruce 2.5-3 years ago. I do think they'll struggle to balance the Champions League and the Premier League. Eddie Howe doesn't have experience with that. I think Alexander Isak is going to have a fantastic season. Struggled at the beginning of last season, but really kicked on in the second half. I think Barnes is an exciting signing. He scored 13 goals in a very poor Leicester side last season. I think he's going to have an unreal season. Number 6, cute little tiny Tottenham. They don't have any Europe to distract them. Kane leaving is anyone's guess at the moment. It doesn't really matter though. Son and Richarlison will need to step up next season. I think Madison is a much needed signing. They haven't had a real number 10 since, I'd say, Christian Eriksen. The defence still concerns me, or it would if Tottenham were likeable. And to be honest, I suppose they just can't get any more memeable than last season. So you think they play it relatively safe just to get back into Europe, but it is Tottenham, so time will tell. Number 5, Arsenal.
Do you want to bring it closer, lads? I'll let you bring it closer if you want.
Respectfully, fuck off, Ben.
Am I still salty about Rice? Yes. Arsenal's lack of squad depth cost them last season, and now they've got Champions League on top of that. They have invested, but they've also let a fair few players go. So I think the numbers even out, even if the quality of depth is better. They also just have a young, inexperienced side, and whether or not they have the mental strength to recover from last season's heartbreak remains to be seen. I mean, yes, they did pay 105 million for an Abu Dhabi regen who will be benched by El Neni in a month.
His eyes look sad.
Yuri and Timber is a very good signing, and begrudgingly Rice will do very well for Arsenal. But I'm genuinely not a fan of the Havertz signing. I can't quite wrap my head around that one. I don't think he's needed. I don't think he's very good. Top 4, 4th place, Chelsea. They have to do better this season, surely. I think they have a very balanced squad at the moment, and Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson have very much impressed me in pre-season. I still have concerns over Chilwell and Reece James' injury records, so they desperately need to keep fit. I think Reece James is the best right back in the league. They look like they have an identity, a play style again that they really didn't have last season. I'm also not buying the Pochettino can't manage big egos thing. I think the PSG job always comes with the unrealistic expectation that they should win the Champions League. It's not worked out for any manager. Poch will get them back into the Champions League. Let's move on. Liverpool, number 3. They struggled last season. They did return to form later in the season. They'll be fine. Their lack of proper central midfielders is a worry. After Henderson, Keita, Ox, Milner, and Arthur, if you can count him, left, they're really just left with Curtis Jones and Thiago as central midfielders, which is not ideal. I think Szoboszlai and McAllister are excellent signings. Salah had a really good season last season. I don't think that's talked about enough. Liverpool will score a lot of goals. They just need to worry about not conceding. I think they'll be fine. They'll score a load, but I do expect them to concede a few. I also have some concerns about leadership without Henderson and Milner, but I also think Klopp is the best man manager in the Premier League, so I'd be surprised if it ended up being a real problem. Number 2, Manchester United. This one is pretty hard to justify, but Heisenberg will get Man United back to where they belong. I'm not sure if it will be a title race, but I do think top 4 will be relatively comfortable for them. Their squad is very strong. They don't seem to have that much deadwood now. I'm a very big fan of the Onana signing and the Mount signing. De Gea understandably caused nerves in the Man United backline last year, but with Onana, I think they should be a lot more assured, and that's going to affect everywhere up the pitch. The striker situation still isn't great. People talking about Rasmus Højlund. He scored 25 career goals, only 9 in a top 5 league, so I'd be hesitant about putting all my faith into him. They're a £5 billion company and possibly the biggest football club in the world, so I'll assume they know what they're doing. And now, cut to a picture of Falcao or Kleberson. Number 1, it's Manchester City. His end to the season wasn't that good last year. I think he won about 7-goal drought, but Cyborg Erling Haaland will score another 30 comfortably. Gundogan is a huge loss. Kovacic is a good first step to replace him, but I think they'll need more than one player in that position. The fact of the matter is, City gave Arsenal a 30-game head start last year and still won the league. It's not fun for the neutral. City will win the league again. I'd love to be proven wrong. The fact is, I don't think City have to be at their best to win the league. They don't need Gundogan. They don't need De Bruyne. They're still going to do it. It's boring, but they will. Well, that's pretty much it. Any disagreements you have, keep them to yourself. You're wrong. Seriously though, thanks for watching. I'm going to try to upload every Sunday from now on if possible. I know this video is not out on a Sunday, unless it is, in which case, good. For the time being, it's just going to be these kind of videos, football-related trivia challenges, tier lists with a little bit of personality, hopefully. I'm thinking next video might be grading every footballer I've met in a tier list, as I've got some good stories about some big-name players. I do want to do some real-life football videos eventually, but logistics are an issue at the moment, and not just me not being very good at football. I'm basically just going to steal Chris MD's videos, but I'm over 6 foot, so my content's better by default. Thank you for watching those. Subscribe if you want Tottenham to get relegated. Bye.
A little bit naughty, that.